Okay, good evening and welcome to the August 20th business meeting of the Council of the Borough of Ringwood. This meeting is broadcast live and will be replayed on Channel 77, also on YouTube throughout the week. Nicole, please read the statement of compliance.
Adequate notice of this business meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Law, PL 1975, Chapter 231, setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this business meeting by consent agenda resolution number 2019-11, adopted January 2nd, 2019, through a legal notice published in the Suburban Trends issue of January 13, 2019, and through notices emailed to the following named newspapers and posted on the bulletin board at the Borough Hall on January 7, 2019, the Suburban Trends and the Bergen Record.
Okay. Could we have a roll call?
Mayor Martucci?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Here.
Council members Bolton is absent. Davison?
Here.
Ferretti?
Here.
O'Keefe is absent. And Spear?
Here.
Also present is the Borough Manager, Director of Public Works, Scott Heck, Acting Municipal Clerk, Nicole Langemeyer, and Borough Attorney Richie J. Klimek. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There are no proclamations or presentations. Can we have the approval of minutes, please?
This is for the business meeting of January 16, 2019. Deputy Mayor Noonan was absent.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second?
Roll call?
Council members Mayor Martucci, sorry.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan.
Abstain?
Council members Davison,
Yes.
Ferretti,
Yes.
and Spear.
Yes.
Okay. Like to open the general public portion. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and one time up at the mic. If you want to bring the microphone over a little bit, you can. State your name and address.
Jim Guinan, 62 Walker Drive, Ringwood, New Jersey. I have 2 items to discuss tonight. First is the Ringwood Solar Farm. I support the solar farm. I think it's a good idea, and it'll utilize unused property and reduce our carbon footprint. And the proceeds from the sale will help to reduce electrical bills for some of the residents and possibly the borough's resident. So I thank you, Scott, for all your work in putting that together. The next issue is the proposed electric vehicle charging station. Ringwood should not go into the electric vehicle charging business and compete with private businesses in the borough. I'm not opposed to electric cars or charging stations. The charging, though, should be left to businesses, the mobile station, the shopping centers, Goldberg's, Pizza, Dunkin' Donuts, etc. It should not be done by the Ringwood Borough. I have some facts. Right now, the range on electric vehicles is 80 to 200 miles. You have charging levels. Level 1 is just plug into the 120 volt, 20 amp receptacle in your home. It takes 8 to 40 hours to do a full charge. You could do less. Level 2 is a number of different options, but basic one is 240 volts, 40 amps, and it's 4 to 8 hours to charge the car. Now, 90% of the electric vehicle owners charge the car at their home or at their workplace. A number of workplaces have it. Now, there's a Northeast States master plan, and you see that being implemented. Electric charging is on the major highway routes. Route 23, Route 17, the Thruway, Route 84, you'll see the charging stations up there. Also at shopping centers, Paramus, Woodbury Commons, etc. have charging stations. There's also some hotels, the Marriott, the Mawa Marriott, Secaucus Crown Plaza, etc. People stop overnight and charge their car overnight. Now, Ringwood is not located on a major travel route, and there are no attractions, restaurants within walking distance of the park and ride where people will spend a few hours while the car is charging. Now, for the cost, State of New Jersey will subsidize up to $5,000 for a single car unit and $6,000 for a two-car station. The installation, I looked at the installation cost and the equipment cost. It's probably going to exceed this subsidy. Now, charging stations must be owned. To get the subsidy, charging stations must be owned, not leased. The operating cost is not subsidized. You have equipment maintenance, and you have credit card processing and internet service to do the credit cards. Now, there's a number of organizations that charge cars, but Charge America seems to be one of them. They recommend 35 cents per minute for the level 2 charger, which is $21 per hour, and for a 3-hour charge, it's $63. The same power is available at your home for $12. So why would you pay $63 when you can get it for $12 at home? So my summary is, an EV charging station will not serve the Ringwood local residents. There is no tourist attraction at the park and ride that people will go to while their car is charging for a few hours. And it will cost the borough money to install and maintain and should not be built.
All right, thank you.
3 minutes?
Jennifer Shu, 205 Lakeview Avenue, and I have 2 items. One, I wanted to report on the Green Team. As you know, the Green Team has been working with the municipality, and they obtained bronze certification from Sustainable New Jersey. The certification is good for 3 years. However, a municipality can reapply before the certification expires, and I'm pleased to report the Green Team will be seeking silver certification from Sustainable New Jersey in 2020. This will require planning and work, and there's a team of volunteers who are committed to achieving this goal. To achieve this goal, we hope to work with the municipality to pursue the following priority actions: addressing energy efficiency for municipal facilities, updating the natural resource inventory, and continuation of the prescription drug safety and disposal program, as well as expanding the recycling and waste reduction program. There's also several actions that we want to pursue as well, including enhanced licensing compliance, promoting electrical vehicle charging stations, infrastructure, and building a healthy community, also working to promote the reduction of waste with a variety of strategies. The second item I'd like to report on is that you may recall that Sustainable New Jersey awarded Sustainable Ringwood grant, and that grant included a number of green challenges as well as a photo contest. So that grant, the original proposal, which was approved by the council before it was submitted and then approved by Sustainable New Jersey, did provide for a photo contest. And it's important to note that when you receive a grant, you should carry out the items that you receive funding for. So I'm happy to report that the Green Team is working not only on all the items on the grant, but as well as working on implementing the photo contest. And so we have developed a plan for the photo contest, which will be open to amateur photographers who are Ringwood residents, and we will encourage students to participate in it as well. We're hoping to initiate this photo contest by September 7th. We have been looking, having discussed it with Mr. Heck, we've been looking at a variety of ways of implementing it, and we've found that you can implement it with Instagram and Facebook at no charge to the borough. So that would be a free way. We would be using hashtags to implement it. The theme of the contest is Keeping Ringwood Green, and there are 3 categories: maintaining the ecosystem in Ringwood, celebrating Ringwood's local plants and wildlife, and preserving the history of Ringwood. The contest would close October 18th, and the winners would be announced at the New Weiss Center on Saturday, November 16th. The entrance will be judged. We would establish an Instagram site to post the rules and updates regarding the contest, as well as making the photos public in one place. The grant does provide for cash prizes, and I'm hoping to work with the municipality to work out these details. But we're hoping, in fact, that the photo contest will happen. Thank you.
That's okay, she can. Okay, thanks.
Hi, Jim Martin, Marcia Road. I had a question about the borough's IT infrastructure. Something that is becoming more than prevalent in this country are cyber attacks that are leading to ransomware attacks. As a matter of fact, there was an article in today's New York Times that currently there are 23 municipalities in the state of Texas that are literally locked down through ransomware. I trust you're familiar with what ransomware is. Presently, as we stand here, almost half of the city of Baltimore is not functioning in terms of their city government due to a ransomware attack. Atlanta is also suffering the same fate. And more, they're moving from the larger cities that have spent the money for a very secure IT infrastructure, like New York City is really one of the models at this point for IT infrastructure, but moving to the more vulnerable, and that's small towns like ours. I don't know what steps we've taken to secure our municipal assets, electronic assets, from those type of attacks, but it's something that you read about in the papers every day, and it's something that we should be looking at and coming up with a solution for. That's a hardened solution. There are several companies out there that provide these kind of intrusion protection services, and it's something that really warrants a very significant look. I also brought you a copy of the article. I don't know if you read the Times, but that's the article from today. Thank you.
Okay, Sergeant of Newark, as you know, got hit a few weeks ago and had to pay a multi-million-dollar ransom. So it's all around us.
Good evening. Mike Einrenhoff, 42 Woodland Road. I would like to address Manager Heck's statement last month when he said at last month's council meeting, quote, Mike Einrenhoff came up with doing away with the Ringwood police and just using the county police. For the record, I have never mentioned doing away with Ringwood's police, and I was unaware that it was even possible until Councilman Spear brought it up at the now infamous Meet the Mayor meeting. While discussing ways to help Ringwood's finances, Councilman Spear mentioned that certain towns in Sussex County had started using state police, at which point I asked if we had ever looked into help from the state, county, or shared services with neighboring towns. It was a brainstorming session to find solutions to our high taxes, and I simply asked a question. Candidates and councilmen should be able to ask the questions that need asking without having to worry that they will be twisted into political tactics. You can be certain that I value and respect our police. For 20 years, I watched the sacrifice of my brother-in-law made as a NYPD officer, along with the constant fear it instilled in our family. I have never mentioned doing away with Ringwood's police, and neither have the other three candidates running for council, and we have no intentions of reducing services. I hope this is the last I hear of this issue.
Anyone else? Can I get a motion?
Seeing none, move to close public.
Second. Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Councilman Davison?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Okay, we have no old business. We have new business. We have Woodlands.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance. Well, first of all, ordinance 2019-09 is on the agenda. There should be a motion to table and carry that to the next public hearing.
Yes, I'll make a motion to table ordinance 2019-09.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Councilman Davison?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
And Spear?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 2019-10, I have a motion to read by title, please.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
sorry.
Mr. Davidson.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Council members Davison?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Okay, 2019 ordinance 10, an ordinance amending the revised general ordinance of the Borough of Ringwood, County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, to revise retail food establishment ordinance, chapter BH3, retail food establishments and beverage vending machines. Is there any of this? Scott, any discussion on that?
Yeah, this came from the Health Department. The Health Department reviewed the ordinances, we're having all the ordinances reviewed, and the items that are affected, the Health Department has revised the retail food establishments and the food and beverage vending machine code to reflect the following changes. Number one, the code was updated to reflect the current state's regs, which is Chapter 24, not Chapter 12, as it used to be. The Board of Health was changed to the Health Department, because we're not a Board of Health any longer, in several locations to reflect the accuracy in the process and enforcement. A late fee of $75 was added after December 31st. Food certifications was updated with the language of course offerings and a fee for food safety certificates $20 per person and a food manager of $125 per person, if in fact we have to have those. A lot of folks do it on their own. And there's a requirement for bear-proof dumpsters to be added in the reserve section of 3-4.5. And that's mainly for food establishments to try and keep some of the garbage from being strewn throughout the woods and wherever the case may be. So this came from the Health Department, and they asked us to consider this. There's going to be more coming. We're looking at some of the other fees, but this is a specific section of their code which they have approved.
Okay, if there's no further comment, I'll recite a resolution. Resolved that ordinance 2019-10 being is hereby introduced, and the municipal clerk is hereby authorized and directed to publish a copy of the said ordinance in the official newspaper of the municipality, with the public hearing to be held at 7:30 p.m. on September 17th, 2019, at the municipal building, Ringwood, New Jersey.
Okay, motion.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Council members Davison?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Okay. Let's move on to resolutions.
Resolution, thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2019-158, whereas the Chief Financial Officer has certified the funds are available for the payment of the current bill list in the amount of $485,858.65. Supplemental payments in the amount of $5,743,612.14. And merchant services fees in the amount of $520.92 to be credited to the following accounts for a total of $6,229,991.71. Of which $1,638,061.83 is being sent to the Ringwood Board of Education, $915,041.92 to Lakeland, $2,948,864.02 to Passaic County.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll move it. Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Council members Davison?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Spear.
Yes.
Okay.
Next resolution, 2019-159, is a renewal for the Morris County Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. I would like to hold this until the next meeting. I'm still waiting my final risk manager's report, and so I would like to hold this if I possibly can, Mayor.
Okay, motion to table to the next meeting.
I'll move that.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Council members Davison?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
And Spear.
Yes.
Our renewal isn't due until December 31st, 2019, so we have time.
Okay.
Resolution 2019-160, resolution authorizing foreclosure under in Rem Foreclosure Act and establishing a tax foreclosure list of liens for the foreclosed. These are getting smaller and smaller. I usually read the name, but this is a new form. This is lot 1.01, block 751.04, in the amount of $73,611.16. Be resolved, Municipal Council of the Borough of Ringwood in Passaic County, State of New Jersey, hereby determines that the borough, in the foreclosure by summary proceedings and in rem as provided by in rem Tax Foreclosure Act, tax sale certificates held by it, as is listed on the attached tax foreclosure list prepared by Debbie Buchanan, tax collector of the Borough of Ringwood, dated August 9th, 2019.
So in essence, what does this do?
Mr. Klimak?
It's a tax,
It's a tax lien.
property owner didn't pay their taxes and
We're
so forth.
foreclosure. We're moving forward on it.
Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Resolution 2019-161, whereas a professional services contract was awarded to Schwann Halls Engineering for professional services required to revise Ringwood's tax map and submit the State of New Jersey contract number 2019-103 in the amount of $30,000. And whereas Schwann Halls Engineering has submitted and the borough engineer has reviewed and recommends the payment in the amount of $16,772.50 dated July 18, 2019. Now therefore be it resolved, the municipal council of the Borough of Ringwood hereby approves partial payments in the amount of $16,772.50 to Schwann Halls Engineering of Oakland, New Jersey. Unfortunately, these are a process of what you have to do to update the tax maps. So we talked about it previously. Seems like an antiquated system, but that's what we have.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Resolution 2019-162, whereas NJSA 40A:4-87 provides that the Director of Local Government may approve the insertion of a special item of revenue in the budget of any county or municipality when such item shall have been made available by law and the amount was not determined at the time of adoption of the budget. Whereas said director may also approve the insertion of an item of appropriation for the equal amount. So in other words, you bring in a dollar amount and there's an appropriation of the equal amount. The Borough of Ringwood has received a notice of award of $355,000 from the DOT and wishes to amend its budget to include this amount as a revenue. Now therefore be it resolved that the municipal council of the Borough of Ringwood in Passaic County, State of New Jersey hereby requests the Director of Division of Local Government Services to approve the insertion of an amount of revenue into the budget for the 2019 in the amount of $355,000, which is now available as a revenue. Be further resolved that the like sum, $355,000, and B is the same hereby appropriated under the caption of General Appropriations, Operation Excluded from Caps, State of New Jersey and Federal Programs Offset by Revenues, 2018 New Jersey DOT Grant, and other expenses. Be it further resolved, the municipal clerk forward one certified copy of this resolution to the Director of Local Government Services for their approval. They changed the form, so this is basically on Chapter 159. We do it all the time. We're bringing the money in, and there's revenue that's offset, and that happens often after you adopted the budget, and you get these. We do it for the tonnage grants and so forth. So,
And this is phase one of the Erskine Road.
Phase one of
Lakeview
Erskine.
Avenue Drainage
Right,
Project.
correct.
Phase one of many.
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
And because the government is the way government is, we have to do the next one, which is the exact same thing, 2019-163. I'm just going to read the changes. Whereas the Borough of Ringwood has received notice of an award of $404,000 from the New Jersey DOT and wishes to amend its budget to include this as a revenue. We're also going to install it as an expenditure. The exact same line items, operations excluded from caps, state and federal programs offset revenues, 2019 NJ DOT grant. One was 18, one was 19.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Ferretti?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Okay.
You want the consent agenda, Mayor?
Yes, please.
2019-164, Mayor and Council of the Borough of Ringwood has reviewed and consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions. Now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions of the consent agenda are hereby approved. 2019-164, approval of the consent agenda. 165, authorized redemption of tax sale certificates. 166, authorized municipal lien redemption. 167, approval of payroll transfers for July 9, 2019. 168, refund of overpayment 2019 property taxes, Block 107, Lot 14. 169, refund of overpayment of 2019 property taxes, Block 508, Lot 2. Refund of 170, refund of overpayment 2019 property taxes, Block 880, Lot 1. 171, refund of overpayment of 2019 property taxes, Block 508, 2.05. 172, refund of overpayment of property taxes, Block 508, 2.29. 173, refund overpayment and cancellation of 2019 property taxes, Block 723, Lot 23.
Why so many refunds?
These come from the tax office. I'm not sure why they have refunds, but some of them are most of these are all overpayments. So they overpay their taxes and they want their money back. You can see there's various dollar amounts, $400, $1,000. Sometimes they paid, the bank pays, and they ask for credit. I'm not sure why exactly they were paid, but
Okay, can you get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Mayor, I have a few items for you tonight in the manager's report. First of all, I know you and John have asked about this. We have a problem where Skyline Lakes Drive and Skyline Drive, the trucks coming up Greenwood Lake Turnpike, the tractor trailers coming up Greenwood Lake Turnpike, seem to get confused and try to deliver to 92 Skyline Lakes Drive instead of 92 Skyline Drive, which has become quite a problem. And then you got these tractor trailers driving through Skyline trying to find the shopping center. And so we, as I put these pictures behind me, we try to encourage them by putting a pretty big reflective sign that says Skyline Drive Business District 2 miles ahead. So we put that just before the gas station. Hopefully that'll get their attention to realize that Skyline Lakes Drive is not where they're looking for. So that went up today. Paving. The paving at Joseph Lane, Judith Ann Drive, and the end of Catherine Court has been completed. Other areas that are being paved shortly are areas to be paved are a portion of Fieldstone Drive, Old Forge Road, Copper Hill Park, Waterford Court, and Sweetwater Lane. Those are all of these projects are getting done partially due to PSE&G when they put the lines in. We ask them to pay for the road. Sometimes they pay for more than half, sometimes they pay for half, depending on where the line is. And we're paying for the balance because we're not gonna pave half a road. That just doesn't make any sense. All of these roads, we have done the drainage, we have fixed the catch basins, we have checked the water valves and so forth. So they're all prepped. We've gone back and cut because when you're paving a road, you have to be able to get a dump truck up, 28 feet in the air. So we have to, cut the roads. We have to do it anyway for plowing so that we can get big trucks in there. Some of the roads are really starting to, the branches are getting low, and last year we had some windshields taken out so we're working through the neighborhoods trying to cut some of that stuff back. So they're ready to go. One of the things that we desperately need to do in one section, there's one section of Cheshire Lane from Nottingham Court to basically Coventry Way, from Nottingham Court on Coventry Way to Cheshire Lane. It's about 500 feet that has to be paved. It's bad. It's in deplorable shape. The water main had been exposed there at one point. The road had washed out. We replaced it, we patched it, but it's got it. So that section, I'm gonna ask Jeff to give me some numbers for that and see if I can go out and get some quotes for that, if this council is okay with it. I know our road program has been minimized this year, but that's a section that really needs some attention. So with your blessing, I would like to do that. We've received a resolution from both Wanacue and Passaic County freeholders, which establishes their approval of a 10-ton weight limit on Stonetown Road. As we talked about for the last year or so, we're trying to get at least a truck restriction on Stonetown Road. You come down to the bottom of that hill by Ricker Hill, and at the bottom, the school bus stop. The trucks are cutting through there. There's no reason to do that. We have a new bridge. So we had to get concurrent resolution from Passaic County and from Wanacue because the trucks will be rerouted through their roads. Ironically, they go on the county road anyway, so that wasn't a problem. Wanacue, they really don't get rerouted on much except for the one couple 100-foot section at the end of Westbrook Road. So Wanacue concurred. So now that we can start, now that we have that, we just got that, last week? We can start that process. We're gonna have to do traffic counts, we're gonna have to do night counts and submit an application to DOT.
While we're talking on roads, Skyline Drive, the hill. The white lines on the side are pretty well faded. And for that amount of money we paid the county, it'd be nice to get them before the winter at least freshened up.
I can certainly ask. Right now, the county's pretty focused on guardrails and the pavement that they're doing out there on Ringwood Turnpike. But I'll certainly send a message. The engineering department is also, I think the chief sent a letter about the surface just by the water tank where the road bends and is always slippery and there's always accidents there. He asked for some type of friction application to that section or milling and do something, because what happens is it washes smooth, and then anytime there's any type of rain, we have an accident there. So I know that he's asked for that already, so I'll add that to the list, man. I talked about it before, I've begun working on the insurance renewal. So we're gonna, hopefully I'll have some news for you that on the next meeting. You know, something that we don't often talk about, and the ambulance corps should be commended for this. We have all of our volunteers are great, and we have a great ambulance corps here in town, and they're buying a new ambulance, and something that's important for everybody to know is the ambulance corps, while we give them some funding, they buy their own ambulances. Now, this ambulance that they're buying now is $248,686, and this is coming from their own funds. Now, they've gotten some bequests, but they manage their money well. They do a lot of fundraising, and there's a tremendous amount of effort put in by the ambulance corps. And I thought, you know, we don't always talk about all the great things that they do. We talk about them saving lives, we talk about them always being there. But here's a direct expenditure that the borough, and that we help them with some of their expenses and some of their repairs, but they're out of their own checkbook buying this ambulance. And they do that every time we need a new ambulance. We've never paid for an ambulance since I can remember. And I think that it's just something that's commendable, and I thought I would bring it up here tonight. So that hopefully they'll have a wet down on that sometime big fall, I guess. I don't know exactly when it's coming. In that regard, you know, I've talked to the ambulance corps a lot. I've talked to Linda a lot. The ambulance corps does a lot of fundraising. They have a request for a auto CPR machine. And what this machine does, you know, the American Heart Association talks about the having good continuous compressions, and so it's hard to have a good continuous compression at the same time you're trying to get somebody out of a house and into an ambulance, because you can't be doing good compressions while you're transporting people. And so the ambulance corps talked to me a little bit about this, and they said we would like to ultimately buy one of these, you know, automatic CPR machines. There's only Stryker is the only person who makes this particular one. It's a sole source. It's about $15,000, and what it does is it straps on the individual, and it continues to have compressions, and they can raise the body or the individual up to a 45 degree and still transport them out and still have this thing give good compressions. It gets them to the hospital quicker. It doesn't slow down the process, and you know, I recommend that we fund this type of activity. You know, every year we fund a different. Last year we bought a different kind of stretcher. This year they would like to have something like this, and I think that this is a gift of life, and I recommend it. It's with my spending authority, but I thought I'd bring it up here to talk to you folks about it. But you know,
Do you need a motion? Linda Schaefer talked to me about this particular item here. Seems to be something we should have in their arsenal. Do you need a motion, or can you just proceed on your own spending authority?
Well, I could do it with spending authority, but you certainly can make a motion if you want. I didn't bring a resolution, Mr. Cleary. I give you the site one if you want.
What is it? You said $15,000?
Yeah.
Okay, Stryker. Okay.
15,300.
All right. Okay, resolve that municipal council authorizes the managers to purchase on behalf of the Ringwood Ambulance Corps a certain CPR machine manufactured by Stryker in the amount of $15,349.58.
As a sole source.
Sole source, okay.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Council members Davison?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Nicole, what number would that be?
It'd be 174.
Relative to solar, And Jim, there was a bunch of people who worked on solar. It wasn't just myself. So, you know, I've been working with them for a bunch of months, but there were there was a lot of people who participated in that. At the last meeting, Councilwoman O'Keefe asked me if I followed up with Soul Systems. I had a meeting with them yesterday. We talked about them. We scheduled a meeting and they came up. Unfortunately, the girl that was originally scheduled didn't make it, but she sent somebody up, and they came up to make a presentation. Unfortunately, they used Glen Rock as an example, and so. But having said all that, I looked at their company, and so instead of going through their presentation, I took them over to like the park and ride, and I said, "Here's like an example of a parking lot. Typically, they do 100,000 square foot rooftops, and we don't have anything like that. They do parking lots that have 300, cars in it. So I met with them. I took them over there. They're interested in looking at the property as lease, but it's not going to be something that's going to reduce our power. What a lot of these solar companies are doing now is they're leasing the property, and what you're doing is you're getting revenue. It's not really reducing your power. They take the power and they put it into the grid. The solar that we would need to use on site. We don't use enough power to generate to utilize that type of system. So what this particular company is talking about is having a lease from us, where they lease the land and they put like the parking solar under it. And so I told them, send me a proposal and talk about what options there are available. Not too long, we're going to have to pave that parking lot. So if we're going to do something like that, we have to talk about it now rather than later. But it's the exact same thing that we were talking about with the county quite a few years ago, and that other company backed out. So, but anyway, I met with them, and so they're gonna propose a couple different options. So, we're not really with the trees and the mountainous area. We don't have a lot of ideal sites for that type of system. The chief and I have received some quotes on some video and some security for Borough Hall, which we're going to be reviewing and talking about. As I mentioned, in today's day and age, we have an obligation to protect both the visitors and the employees here at Borough Hall. So we are working on that. It's through a government contract. We did propose for some of the stuff within the budget, so we will have a better report for you as that process goes forward. But there's going to be some changes, and they're probably going to be a little bit inconvenient, and you see them happening in government buildings, you see them happening in schools, you see them happening all over. We need to have some accountability as to who's in the building and where they are, and who has to, if there's an emergency, who has to get out, and ID badges, because remember, when there's an incident in a building, we have shared services and mutual aid coming from other towns. They don't know who anybody is. They don't know who the visitors are. They don't know who the employees are. So we're working on a new plan for security for here. And we're also going to include the library. I sent you all a conservation easement, the proposal for the recycling center. It's just a sketch. All the words that we've talked about in the past have been, but this way you had a sketch of what it actually would look like and what areas it would encompass. So this is all part of the mitigation for the areas across the street. So as you can tell by the sketch, most of the area that is here is going to be the existing mitigation, 3.3 acres of the existing recycling center. We're going to keep the road. Originally we wanted to take the road as well, but we have some residents that are access to property through there. So that's really just for your information. I had that in your packet, which was distributed to the council. Any questions on that? We also received the grant from Highlands. We got the formal notification of the Highlands grant for the water-based assessment of our lakes in the amount of $91,555.50. So we have proceeded with that contract with Princeton Hydro, and that process has begun. So hopefully they can do some of the modeling and prepare the sites and figure out where they want to take the samples from that would best reflect the model. So they're working on that at this point. I forwarded to all of you a contract with Capola Services for emergency repairs to James Drive Treatment Plant. I also forwarded you a email from our Langing Engineering, our sewer consultant, relative to that particular repair, and essentially one of the mechanisms within the tank, the scraper arm, and that stirs up the effluent to keep it all moving, and the baffle scraper needs to be welded, repaired, new pumps put in, and in order to do that, we have to drill that all down. We have to wash it, treat it. There's a whole process you have to go through. Langen recommends that we authorize Capola in an amount not to exceed $30,000 to get the scraper arm and mechanism repaired and back in operation. And I have that for your review. Mr. Klimek, you sent me a resolution for this today, but unfortunately I couldn't print it. Do you think you're?
I can
You want me to
recite
send
a
you-
resolution, then I'll give you the written one tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Okay, all right, okay. Whereas an emergency exists at the James Drive treatment plant, as explained by the manager, and whereas under the local public contracts law, a municipality can award an emergency contract without the necessity of public bidding, and whereas it has been determined by Langdon Engineering and concurred by the manager that this does constitute an emergency and a threat to the public safety and health, now therefore be it resolved that a contract in the amount of not to exceed $30,000 be awarded to Capola. I don't have their full name, but we know who they are.
Capola Services.
Capola
Capola
Services, okay, Ringwood, New Jersey, to remediate, rectify, and repair the issues at the treatment plant. And the borough manager hereby authorized to take such steps and execute such documents so as to implement the agreement, the contract.
How long will it take?
Really depends on what they find when they get in there. Once they drew it down once, we went in and did some inspections. So once they do that process, I think it'll probably take a week and a half, depending upon how quickly they can change the parts, fix the parts, do the welding, so get it operational.
Need a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Roll call?
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Council members Davison?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Mayor, one of the things that troubles me as we drive around town, the amount of litter is incredible. We've changed our litter ordinances. We have caught a few people who have litter. As a matter of fact, one of the companies who we caught sent all their guys here for 4 hours or so, a couple hours, to clean up sides of the road. So we have done that, but the fact remains that our main roads are just riddled with litter and debris and garbage. It's a even though it's not our roads, it's a reflection of Ringwood, it's a reflection of our community. And as the county went around and sprayed some of the weeds and stuff, you see more and more of the garbage. The county has discontinued its prisoner litter program through the sheriff's office. I don't think they have the sheriff's officers enough to do that any longer. So it's difficult to get them here, and it's not just here. I think that's countywide. And while they're not our roads, like I said, it reflects our community. And I'm going to create a program where we have community organizations and residents help us clean the roads several times a week, several times a year. I know the DPW, I have go out there and they'll clean the roads and they'll do a mile section at a time, and we do that a couple times a year. But we can't keep up with the amount of garbage that's out there. And as our employees are declining a little bit, it's harder to get some of the projects done that we have to get done and do that as well. So I plan to use some of the Clean Communities money to donate to these organizations. It does allow us to do that. While we usually use the funding for mitigation and upkeep of recycling and whatnot, we're going to try and use some of that money to try and help some of these organizations, Boy Scouts, whoever fits the bill that'll help us go out there. And I'm probably going to have them, if we're going to do main roads, we're going to be doing it with DPW and police, traffic control and whatnot. But I think that as you drive around town, the local communities is not an issue, but some of the main roads are just, and you clean it up and a week later, it's back again. So that's what I'm gonna do. I've been working with Caesar on that, so hopefully by September, we're gonna start receiving some letters. So if there's organizations that are interested in participating in this program, contact my office. But I'm gonna be sending letters out to all the organizations going forward, because it's bad. Relative to a few of the comments earlier, we do worry about our IT infrastructure, and we have two IT guys. We have an IT individual company for this side of the building, and we have an IT guy for the police department. They're very different, and they're separate computer systems. And we have redundancy and backups off-sites, and we've spent a lot of time working about that stuff because there are a lot of municipalities that are having issues. And while you can't avoid all of the issues, you occasionally get them. You have to do everything you can to avoid them. We also have our insurance company that's very involved in paying attention to what systems we have in place, what help they can give us to look at all this stuff. And so they also participate in some of our IT, and they look at all that. We just did a whole IT questionnaire for them with our IT guys so that they know exactly what we're doing. And they since they provide some insurance for this type of stuff, they obviously want to make sure that we're as tight and secure as you can be. When you have employees, though, you have to remind them all that what you're doing and what you're downloading, you have to really be suspect of a lot of this stuff. And while you can catch most of it, sometimes it's a problem. But so we do everything we can to keep that all up to date. And we have two different companies that are doing that within the building, in addition to the insurance company, who also oversees all that stuff. So, and Mayor, I think that's all I have for this evening. Oh, one more thing, I'm sorry. I didn't turn the page. After more than 20 years, our prosecutor is retiring at the end of the month. And so I sent that all to you in your packets. We have an alternate prosecutor, so that's not an issue. I'm sure in January you'll be interviewing for new prosecutors at that point, but Ralph Fava has been here for a very long time, and so he's retiring and going to be moving to, I believe, Florida.
Mr. Fava's been here off and on since 1985.
85,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, long time.
I remember a very young prosecutor.
Yeah, sure. So that's all I have for this evening, Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Okay, it's the time to open up the second general public portion. Keep your comments limited to 3 minutes. And one shot at the mic, please.
Hi, Paula Tedesco, 95 Upper Lakeview. Yesterday on my block there was a car fire, and it was, when I heard about it and I saw the remains of how high the flames went, all the way up a tree, it was really astounding. The individual is somebody that I knew quite well, and I just want to again commend our services, our police, ambulance, and fire for the fantastic job they did. They really averted a tragedy. Thank you again. We appreciate you very much.
Jim Guinan, 62 Walker Drive, Ringwood, New Jersey. A lot of people think electricity is clean, and it is clean at the usage because there's no emissions coming out of the light bulb. However, all of the emissions is let go at the power plants through high-velocity chimneys which push the exhaust high into the air. So there's an awful lot of information available from the Department of Energy called Energy Information Administration. They have a whole administration of it. Currently, this is for New Jersey, we're 58% natural gas fired, 35% nuclear, 0.2% coal, and 4% non-hydroelectric renewables. So on the power generation, most of it now is gas-fired gas turbines. The efficiency of a gas turbine power plant is around 30%. And then there's a transmission loss of about 5% through the wires and transformers to get it to you. So the net efficiency is around 25%. Now, in looking at these electric vehicles, some of the manufacturers say they get the government defined gallons equivalent. In other words, how much energy is equivalent to a gallon of gasoline. So some of them claim 100 gallons per equivalent. However, if the power plant electricity is only 25% efficient, that means you get equivalent of 25 gallons, miles per gallon in an electric car. I have a car, gasoline, it gets 30 miles or over 30 miles. So I just wanted to clarify these misunderstandings that electricity is not clean. Thank you.
We need funding for Ringwood Open Space, Passaic County Space, New Jersey Open Space, and the Board of Education for Ringwood for improvements of the Historic Society and the Passaic County Farmland and Passaic County Open Space and New Jersey Open Space.
Mark, you gonna come to the September open space meeting? September open space meeting? I'll call you.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Paul Rabacki, 99 Edward Drive. Couple things. First thing is St. Catherine's is having a blood drive this Saturday, 9 to 2. So if appreciate anybody who can come and help save a life. I know it's up on the it's up on the board or already in the center of town. So if anybody needs a reminder. Second thing, I guess probably the mayor will agree with me, is JCP reliability. I'm Orange and Rockland. But it seems like we haven't gone a week without JCP now dropping at least the Skyline Lakes area. I mean, it's gotten really ridiculous. I don't know, if we work with Wanacue, because, it's just a section of our town, but it's their whole town. It's getting, I can remember when Orange and Rockland was really, really bad. And, one of the things also is just people keep in mind when storms come through, 2 electrical workers were killed up in Warwick yesterday when they're professional line guys. They were working on a line and they were electrocuted. And the company said it's the first time in 35 years that anybody was killed. But that tells you how dangerous these lines are when they come down. I was going to talk about Skyline Drive, the guardrail situation. We're now missing about 80 feet of guardrail. Now, put it in context. Oakland had that accident with that dump truck. Within 2 weeks, Kramer was there with their trucks, closed the whole lane, drove a whole new guardrail in there. I mean, this is another example of the drain of Passaic County on us. We're paying taxes, and there's now a tree on the inside of the guardrail. That's how much Passaic County cares about us. I understand, I applaud Chief Walker trying to get them to do something about that curve, but the problem is that's where all the cars go, and we're gonna lose a resident someday. They end up in the woods, hitting a tree is not good. I have a question, Sustainable Ringwood Green Team, are they one and the same, or are they different?
They're essentially one of the same.
Okay, because I've seen things about starting up composting and so forth. I found that's kind of interesting because it was a huge fight to defeat composting up in West Milford because of the negative effects on the community as far as that. And also, if it's done, if the town's gonna do it, is this gonna be, we're gonna have to reconstitute the Ringwood Borough Solid Waste Authority to, I understand people wanna save money on their garbage, but I think that can be, I'm not sure how that weighs out. This is really kind of for Mr. Klimak. I know TNAC is involved in litigation and now in the appeals process with the whole thing with Oprah. They've had a big case going on. I don't know if other towns are filing briefs in support of them or not. So if it's just TNAC's on their own, and on kind of on the same thing. I remember back when Kelly resigned, there was a question put to the council about whether there was whether she had filed any litigation against the town when she left. And I think the answer was no. I guess I have a follow-up question now, kind of hearing more about this, is what's the time frame from the time that Venkatol's complaint became knowledge to Kelly, and Kelly found out she had personal liability on this, and her resignation? Was that something that was contemporaneous, or was it something just, unrelated? Okay? That's all I have. Thank you. I just asked the question.
Well, I'm just telling you. I'm answering your question. Venkatol, 24 High Point Lane. In 2013, you guys applied for an economic sustainability grant from the Highlands Council, and you received it. And I'm wondering if the monies that you are now getting for the watershed grant is transferring from the money you left on the table there, which I think was like $177,000, because you never completed any of the tasks that went with that grant. So you received something for the market analysis, which you did, but you never completed any other tasks of the grant, so you left $177,000 on the table. So I was reading over some information, and the Highlands Council does say that if there's outstanding monies from a grant, you can transfer it. Is that what's happening now? Are you using that money that was outstanding from that grant?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
You're not?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay. So because, in fact, you could have used the 177 that you had and applied for another grant, and you could have gotten more money. So there's really no limit to the amount of money that you can apply for with the Highlands Council. In the market analysis, I read over it, and it's pretty old now, from 2014, but something jumped out at me, which is 150 units, which is the number that I keep hearing on the dais of the possible housing units or apartment units that possibly will be built if Ringwood Crossing does go forward. And I thought that that was a COA number, but I'm coming to find out it's from this OTNOW market analysis that was done in 2014. So, but everything really hinges on the wastewater management plan, because that's the issue in the Highlands, the wastewater. So I'm wondering, the Highlands Council said you did not complete the wastewater analysis. I'm asking, did you? Did you do it? They're not aware that you did, and you might have been paid for it on your own. I don't know.
So you're talking about stuff from 2013. I'd have to ask the planning board secretary.
2014, yeah.
I would have to ask. I
Yeah.
wouldn't know
So you
that
don't know
off the top.
anything about this grant?
No, I'm not. You're asking very specific questions. I don't have the answer for you. If you had told me you were coming to ask those, I would have had that file. But I don't have it off the top of my head, so I can't really. I don't want to answer you and not be factual.
Well, two questions I have then. The money that you're receiving from the Highlands Council, is it transferred from that?
I did not apply for any transfer. I applied for a direct grant. I sent
Right,
them
but
a
I'm
letter.
wondering if it is.
I don't know what their internal working is. They
Yeah.
sent me a letter. I'm sure you have a copy of it. And
I don't have any copies
have
of
it
any
here,
letter.
so-
Yeah. No.
I can read it. When you get done, and I'll read it.
Okay. I mean, what I have is information from the Highlands Council, which says if there's outstanding grant money, that that's what they will do with it. They're not going to take it away. If you're applying for another grant, they will use it for that grant, which I'm assuming is happening now. I mean, I can call them up and ask, but I was just wondering if you knew, because that's something that's important to know, whether or not you're getting new money or old money that you left on the table, which was $177,000 that you did not use and you could have used. So my question is, maybe you could tell me at the next meeting whether or not you ever did a wastewater management analysis, which would have been the next step in your economic development plan of Ringwood Crossing. Ringwood Crossing. You can't just say that you want to build 150 units in the Highlands Preservation Area without having wastewater. So maybe next meeting you could have an answer for me. Thank you.
Yep. We do a motion to close public?
Second? Roll call?
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Council members Davison?
Yes.
Peretti?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
Mayor, I can answer part of the question. Mr. Ravaki brought up, we received a complaint from Vankatol versus the Borough of Ringwood and Ms. Hollowitz on January 19th, 2018. And Ms. Hollowitz left before primary, so I don't know exactly when that is.
Sometime in
but-
May, she gave notice.
Yeah, sometime, so I'll let you make whatever assessment you make. I don't know exactly when she left off of my head.
That's fair answer.
Any attorneys?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Anything for executive session?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, members of the council.
Happy to report and thankful that our meetings have been uploaded to YouTube very quickly over the last few months, which is very nice. This meeting or any others, you can quickly and easily access on YouTube. Just type in Ringwood Borough. They come right up if you're not familiar with it. And you can fast forward and scroll right through them and see whatever you want on those videos, which is really nice. That said, charging stations. I like the idea of having charging stations in town. I agree, and I believe Councilman Bolton also was talking about having these charging stations at businesses. I don't believe the borough is interested in paying for the charging stations. It was more about having, if we were granted charging stations one way or another, we would want them located at places like Maggie's, or potentially, if we were to have more of a walkable, rideable Ringwood, maybe the park and ride would work, or work better, and we do have Ringwood Pizza and other establishments, I would argue, walkable. So, that said, I do agree with your general sentiment. I wanted to bring up the issue of the traffic light timing at Erskine Road and Skyline Drive. I feel like every time I drive up to it, and I brought this up at past meetings, it's going yellow, unless you're one of the first 4 cars waiting already. And I wonder if we could address that before we go ahead and get grants for the rideable, walkable Ringwood or footbridge over Skyline Drive, things we talk about. But I can't necessarily predict how long it will take to have. So, if we could look forward, I look forward to seeing that move forward, please. I think anybody and everybody in their right mind would agree that one of the biggest assets of our town, the biggest asset of our town, as we have this family town, is the safety. We're the fourth safest town in Ringwood, and we can attribute that to our police department. I have, and I've never had any discussions with any of the current council members or people running about eliminating or even cutting at all our police department. So I'm glad that Mike Einernoff cleared the air on that. None of us feel that that's the case. That's a political football at best. So that said, very happy to report that the paving looks very nice on 511. They finally got that. Is it done? Is it officially done, or we're working on it? Some of it's done anyway. I wrote on it. So that's nice. And lastly, school's in session. I believe it's exactly 2 weeks from tomorrow. So let's be careful on the roads. Kids are going to be at school. school bus stops. And once again, excited to run off with the bus. And with that, enjoy the last few weeks of summer.
We actually have somebody there that pushes the button when you come up so it turns yellow.
Ah, that's possible, I know that. Yeah. Some people like me.
The contractor is coming, I think, in the next 2 weeks to do the maintenance on it, and I told him to adjust some of that timing.
Thank you. So,
Make it shorter.
that's what they use that school for now.
Mrs. Beer.
There was some comments made about the economic sustainability grant. It certainly was not in the order of magnitude of $177,000. If I recall correctly, it was closer, somewhere between 25 and 40. And what you were getting for that, I remember at the time, they had just funded one, I think, for the borough of Highbridge. I took a look at it, and go through all the pages, and it really felt a whole lot like boilerplate. And at the end, they were talking about some guidelines for a wayfinding package. Maybe all you need is some nice signs. And they said that obviously is not going to cover the borough of Ringwood and our needs. And what we did at the time was use some of that economic sustainability grant money from the Highlands. Once again, it certainly was not $177,000 because the borough had to add its own money for a wastewater consultant to look at these issues. We had a planner. We had our attorney, Mr. Dunn, right, I think we said Jeff Otto. That's the market analysis, which is about 2014 vintage, and probably could be used to look at again. But a lot of the principles that are in there are probably still applicable. What caught me there was he said something like, at the present rate of take-up of office space, Passaic County will not have any vacant office space by 2115 or some kind of number like that. And it's like, oh, okay, so I guess the nice clean office uses probably aren't something that we want to zone for. And the 150 number of possible potential residences, apartments within the center of town does come directly from the Otto report. That's what we were looking for. That's why he was hired. What can the properties sustain? What can be looked upon as a developable project? Okay, and a developable project would be one that a developer is interested in doing. So there has to be some kind of financial benefit to a developer in order to build the project. There has to be something that the borough can live with, not changing things all that much. So that is why that number came into being. It was not plucked out of thin air. The COA number gets backed out of that if that area of town could possibly sustain 150 apartments using the typical 1/5 number for COA units, which has been the tradition using in the affordable housing game. That gives you about 30 COA units. That's what's probably our maximum build out of COA units, provided wastewater service it follows. And we have been knocking on the doors and trying to find out what are our wastewater options. We have available capacity down in Wanacue. We own 1/3 of the plant. Knowing that we have capacity at a plant we own, it's hard to dismiss that idea right off the bat. So you have to actually kind of investigate that, and that will take a great deal of work and pushing, and we have to really demonstrate that there is something feasible here in order to get that. So that about covers it. I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's more. And during the middle of the process, we lost our planner we had Frank Banish as our planner here since 2004, something like that, when Banish came in, and he was really handling all the grants and making applications for payment. So that is something we should look at to see if see what the status is of those grants and those bills. But I know that we were spending beyond the scope of the economic sustainability grant as given by the Highlands Council. And that was a master planning grant. That was not this recent grant for the lake management plan. That's a different program altogether within the Highlands. Mr. Ehrenhoff made a comment before. At these meetings here, the Chamber of Commerce has a meeting, at Borough Hall. They, we talk openly. And I've been trying to impress that there's limited options to what you can do with the municipality. You want to offer the same suite of services that everybody is used to receiving, but costs continually go up. You can raise taxes. You can find additional rateables and spread out those increasing costs amongst a wider base. That'll keep the taxes, pretty much. It would reduce the impact of those tax increases as they go. Or you can cut services. If there will be no additional rateables that can be generated by the borough, the choices get tougher. Then it becomes raise the taxes or cut the services. And if you want to actually do, if you want to actually help, taxes, well, there's a couple of big things you have to look at, because biting around the edges is not going to get you the kind of tax relief that you're going to hope for. In a way of communicating, sometimes, what's the Latin term, Counselor? Reductio ad absurdum, or something like that. You take a...
Credo est absurdum.
Thank you, sir. I'm doing count on my attorney for that.
I've been accused of that at times.
You make a point that is so absurd that you hope that everybody recognizes it as being absurd. Such is the case with, we'll get state police coverage, just like they got up in Branchburg. Great plan. When that gets followed by a question that's asked earnestly, why don't we do this the way they did back in North Carolina, or somewhere such as that, that does not, that tells me that the absurdity went right over our heads here, and we're really not getting the point. But those comments, even then, I don't take that, seriously. I just kind of ignored it and brushed past it. I was kind of surprised when a couple weeks later, somebody who was not at that meeting happened to mention that. Why don't we combine with the county police? That kind of struck me as a little strange. And it's really just a matter of outlook and thought process. Why would anybody be paying $2.5 million, $3 million that we pay for our police department? Why would anybody doing that when you can get the service for free? You would first want to be able to investigate that and see, wow, is there really overlap? Or do really, all 16 municipalities in Passaic County and all 78 municipalities in, well, not all of them, but probably about 70 of them in Bergen County, why do they all pay for their own police departments if they got county departments? You would want to investigate why that is, before you actually ask the question in a serious fashion. You shouldn't take too long to dismiss that as an absurd result. It's just silly, it's not thought through, and that's my point on that. So with that, everybody enjoy your Labor Day holiday and the rest of your summer.
One quick clarification, Mr. Spear. Relative to the Highlands, the Highlands grants that they're talking about are only for studies and reports.
Yes.
No affirmative action at all. It's only for studies, reports, and such. It's not, so you can't file a grant to do physical work. You can only study items.
Yep.
And that's all the grants. Same thing with the grant we just received.
Well, most of the grants were for plugging in parts of the master plan that you were required to prepare by the Highlands. You were required to prepare it by the Highlands, and then they gave you money to go out and do their bidding. That's how it worked. I used to call it hush money.
Okay. So there's no implementation with anything that the Highlands council, and I don't think it's unlimited. You know, I heard there was unlimited funds this evening. It's not unlimited. There's very specific benchmarks you can make, and you can study everything to death. You can get a study to learn anything, but at the end of the day, if we're just studying to study and we can't put anything into place, what good is the study?
Well, I really don't have a report, but I was wondering, did anyone get a letter from the Deputy Director of the Passaic County Freeholder Board?
I may have.
I could discuss it with you later. It has to do with nonprofit agency summit.
Yeah, they are having a summit. You can read those dates if you want out loud.
Okay. It's Friday, October 25th, 2019, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. The location is the Passaic County Public Safety Academy on Oldham Road in Wayne. And what it says here, it invites any organization in town, nonprofit that deals with religious organization, food pantry, social welfare, unemployment, domestic violence, veteran services, legal services, immigration, healthcare, government officials, and community leaders, as well as educators, are invited to that meeting.
Yeah, they're gonna have a summit to talk about a lot of different options, and we have, I think that's gonna be on our website.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Like I said many times, our volunteers in this town are some of our greatest assets. Can you imagine if we had to pay for fire, or pay for ambulance corps, or something like that? It would be astronomical, the costs. It's tremendously admirable that the ambulance corps is going to spend $250,000 on an ambulance. It's not going to cost the town directly. I encourage everybody to support, and we all get that envelope annually from the fire departments and the ambulance corps. I encourage you to, write a check, put some money in, and send it back in. I know towns like, even in this county like Passaic, Patterson, and Clifton, their fire departments cost millions and millions of dollars. We have tremendous amount of volunteers that cover that for us, and my hat's off to you guys, and thank you very much. As far as the alternative energy thing, I'm involved in heavy industry. I kind of follow it worldwide and the developments of the actual implementation, development, and the building of these things. And while I agree with the idea of alternative energy and the implementation, I'd like to do it smartly, just to do, jump on a bandwagon to put in charging stations. I find it hard to understand how something on a scale in Ringwood would be a prudent expenditure versus the benefits. It's interestingly enough that some of the major players, major corporations in charging stations and electric vehicles and so forth are actually having a hard time, if you look deep in the numbers, monetizing it. It looks good, it's great in the press and so forth, but they're having a hard time. I have a business associate that understands it, works in that industry to a certain degree, and that's what they're seeing. So just to jump on the bandwagon to do something like that, I just don't find our area, same with solar. I've worked on some solar projects where it's huge warehouse roofs or huge parking lots, because the benefit was there because of the amount of solar exposure, sun exposure. So just to try to force something to say we did it just doesn't make sense to me. For that, enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll see you in September.
Okay. My only comment is on the charging stations, the marketplace will determine what comes in and what doesn't. Eventually, if it's attractive and it's profitable, it'll come out. And the marketplace will determine the cost and what happens. It's nothing for the municipality really to deal with. Have a good weekend. Happy Labor Day. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Mayor Martucci?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Noonan?
Yes.
Councilmembers Davison?
Yes.
Moretti?
Yes.
Spear?
Yes.
here on your birthday?
That was yesterday.
I should have